Wednesday, December 20th, 2023, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today, we're going to look at what is the only way out for Britain's economy. And of course, it's my opinion. You can comment below in the comment section why you think it might be wrong, why you think it might be right, and what do you think is the best thing yourself. And I like to say this applies to all the Western countries, really, and a lot of other countries around the world. And as you might tell, I'm not originally from Britain because of my accent, but I've been here since 1992, and I think there is a way out for this country, economically, I mean. And that's what we're going to look at. Some of you might be asking, where's Rudy? Well, I'm up fairly early today, and Rudy's still asleep, and he's doing great. Rudy, of course, for those of you who don't know, is my dog. He usually sits there on the couch. So before we look at what is the only way out for Britain, for Britain's economy, and once an economy improves, everything gets better, I'm going to look at a couple of ideas which help me see what's wrong with what's going on and what might be the solution. First one is from Frederick Bastiat. And for those of you who don't know who Frederick Bastiat was, I recommend this book, The Law. And I'm going to put a link for a free PDF that you can read the book. And it's not a long book, as you can see. It says here, the classic blueprint for a just society. And I want to go just over one of the things he said. An epitaph or an epigram. And this is it. He says, the state, he declared, and perhaps his most memorable epigram, is that great fiction by which everyone tries to live at the expense of everyone else. So that's one of the first big problems I see, not just with Britain, but a lot of other countries. A lot of people expect something for nothing. They expect the state to be there to help them, and they forget that the state doesn't have any money or any resources, that the state must take from someone else to help you or to pay you. The other idea is very similar, but it's probably someone who made this quote, but it makes sense, right? So the bigger the state gets, the less free you're going to become as a citizen or a subject, whatever you might be called in your country. Yes, it's only common sense. The bigger something gets in relationship to something else, and that something else doesn't get bigger, you're going to look a lot smaller. So that's the other principle, in my opinion, that's happening. So let's start with maybe a question a lot of people are going to have, or a statement they're going to make. They're going to say, well, the reason the economy is doing so badly and there's so many problems is because the conservatives are in power. They're into small government. The first rebuttal I would have is, if Labor was such a good system or socialism, why did they lose the election in 2010? If they had done such a good job, why aren't they in power, and why isn't everything great? Granted, conservatives have been in power for a while now, so that's the first argument there. The second one, and I understand, is that there are always those who are very vulnerable who need help. Well, I agree with that. And the rebuttal here is something called charity. But in a state or a society or an economy where taxation is the biggest it's been as a whole for 70 years, those who can help themselves, those who are earning and not being dependent on the state, they don't have that much money left to help others, to perform acts of charity. And you might argue, well, but the welfare state guarantees that that won't be needed. But we've got a welfare state right now, even though we don't have labor in power. I mean, we've got government spending, the biggest it's been, as I said, in many decades. And we've got food banks. We've got people who can't pay for their heating. We've got unions on strike because people are not earning enough. What else have we got? Well, we've got the states, despite being so big, not being able to control how many people come into the country and how disruptive they are. And the other thing I would argue is, if there wasn't a welfare state, if the government and the system weren't providing everything for free, you wouldn't have these people rushing in from countries where they don't have a welfare state to come and live here. So those are the arguments there. And back to Bastia and people expecting the state to do everything for themselves. I think personally, if you're able to be self-reliant, not dependent on the state, that is the best thing. That's what makes you grow. Yes, you're going to have bad times and good times, but if you don't have bad times, you don't learn from those experiences, and you can't improve your condition. And that's how I see things. And I don't think it would take long for Britain's economy. And by economy, I'm not looking at the Keynesian whole GDP or anything like that. Yes, the Keynesians have this fixation with GDP and statistics only because in the Keynesian system, the government is so big and the government is doing everything to disrupt freedom. So, yes, what I mean is each individual person, they have to be self-reliant. They have to have that attitude, in my opinion, that they need to go out there, create value, do whatever they need to do to bring in some kind of income so that they can consume and survive and eventually keep their family going, provide them with shelter. And you might say, well, house prices are so high. You know, I can't even get a mortgage or I can't rent. Well, what is the other reason why things are so bad? Why the cost of living is so high? Well, it's because the state has gotten too big through a fiat currency system whereby with a monopoly central bank, the government can just spend, tax, spend, borrow as much as it wants, while the central bank with its banking agents in the private sector, they make out like a bandit because when they lose, you bail them out. When they gain, they keep the profits. And that's what's been happening. But under a freedom system, not even a system, under freedom, where people use whatever they want as money, and they usually choose gold and silver because they have had a very long track record of thousands of years. It limits the power of the state and the government. It stops inflation in its tracks. And isn't it ironic, or it just shows the corruption of the state, that MPs or members of parliament yesterday voted for a pay rise for themselves of 7.1%. And they tell us that the inflation rate, or what they call inflation rate, which actually isn't the CPI, is at 4.6%. Is it real, the 4.6%? No, and they know it, and that's why they gave themselves a 7.1% rise. So what I'm trying to tell you here, and I'm gonna wrap it up right now, and I might have to make another video about this because I've probably forgotten a lot of things that I had to say, and I don't want to keep it too long. So there are a few points here. First is we can't live at the expense of everyone else. Second is that the bigger government gets, the smaller your freedoms become. And third, without a system or a world, I don't like to say system, a world where there's freedom and you're able to use whatever you want as money, and there isn't a central banking monopoly in fiat currency, that will automatically limit the power of the state and will make everyone freer because the state will become smaller. And just another point, of course, yes, if socialism and welfare was such a great thing, labor and the socialists would always be in power and things would be perfect right now. So, yes, as I said, it's my opinion. You might have another one, and I don't mind debate. That's what freedom is all about. But as Ron Paul said to his constituents, or to someone who asked about his constituents in southern Texas, they asked him, how come they keep voting for you? And he said, well, I always ask them, you've had decades of the same, big government and stuff. Have things improved? And they said, no. Well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to leave you alone. And that's why they voted for him. So anyway, let's quickly look at the markets this morning. And I am early today because I am going to go play golf, my last round of golf before Christmas. So that's the other thing as well. Things might be bad out there, but you need to keep going and do what you need to do. You can't let things get you down or fear things. You just got to keep going on with your life. So it's just before 7 a.m. and that's why Rudy's still asleep. We've got spot gold at 2,041. It's up just over $1. High's been 42, low 36. Silver struggling here, trying to stay above 24. It is above 24 at 24.07. High's been 15, the low has been 0.1. The stock market futures are virtually unchanged, so I won't go through them. The dollar has been weak. The dollar index has come off. I think it could go further down towards like 100 or just below there. As you can see in this chart, it looks like we have a bear flag. It's a technical formation for those of you who don't know. But right now, sterling is down slightly at 127.13. The euro is down 0.2 at 109.57. And the dollar is down slightly versus the yen at 143.66. Dollar is up 0.2 versus the Chinese currency at 713.50. The Aussie dollar is unchanged, 67.63. The dollar is up about 0.1% versus the Canadian dollar, 133.50. And the Kiwi dollar is unchanged, 62.72. And talking about foreign exchange, all that I spoke about, the state and what could help Britain's economy, that applies to all the countries I went through there in terms of their currencies, because yeah, government is big everywhere, unfortunately. What about the commodities? WTI crude. Wow, we're back up quite a bit. It's related to the situation in the Red Sea and Yemen, which would potentially block the Suez Canal, and that would be quite significant for the flow of oil from the Middle East to Europe. So right now, WTI is at 74.05. It's up only a tenth, but it's up significantly since a week ago. And Brent is quickly approaching 80. It's at 79.32. Platinum is up a couple of bucks, trading at around 960. And high-grade copper is up 0.5% at 391.72. And I'll finish off with a 10-year yield. Well, that's kind of stuck around 390. It's down at about 2 basis points. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.